There are multiple different manufacturers that make flying coasters. The most notable of these is B&M, who have made Manta, Superman Ultimate Flight, Tatsu, a Flying Dinosaur, and Starry Skyripper. Although they might be the most well-known when it comes to making flying coasters, there are, however, some manufacturers who have dipped their feet into the flying coaster market, such as Zamperla, who have made world-class rides such as Hero and Time Warp. But not all flying coaster manufacturers are as bad as these. There's one that actually made a pretty compelling rival to the B&M Flyer. I'm of course talking about the Vekoma Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is one of the most underrated roller coaster models out there. There have only been 3 that have ever been made: Firehawk, Nighthawk, and Batwing. Of these, I've only been on Firehawk, but all of them have essentially the same layout, so I'll be using Firehawk as my reference point for this video. Most people glaze B&M Flyers, but there are several problems with them. For starters, the restraints. The vests are very tight on you, and the leg locks dig into your shins. This makes it much harder to enjoy the ride. Second is their layouts. There are some good moments, typically the sweeping turns. They aren't anything crazy, but they do help to encapsulate that feeling of flying. Although this is done well, they suffer when it comes to intensity. They may be intense, but these intense moments are often very uncomfortable. The most notable of these elements is with the pretzel loop. The G-force is so strong during this moment that it pins your skull to the back of your seat. This causes immense discomfort. It's as if someone is taking a chisel and just clanging into the back of your skull over and over again. Not only does this ruin that specific ride element, but the discomfort from this moment echoes throughout the rest of the ride. Both the discomfort from the restraints and the intense moments significantly decrease the quality of the B&M Flyer. On the other hand, the Flying Dutchmans maintain a high comfort level and have a better balance between intense and calm moments. For starters, the restraints, while weird, are not nearly as bad. Don't get me wrong, they definitely aren't great, but they are much better than the restraints you find on the B&M Flyers. Next, they strike a great balance between both intense and calm moments. The best moment of intensity is the vertical loop, which, like the pretzel loop, provides heavy positive forces. But unlike the pretzel loop, it doesn't grind your head into the seats. There's another good moment of intensity at the end with the double barrel roll that flips you over twice. This element is really fun and a great way to end the ride. Lastly, the much calmer moments are also a joy. The wide sweeping turns on these are just as graceful as the ones on B&Ms, and the pullout of these turns also provides some intense moments, without being overly uncomfortable. Because of these reasons, I rank the Flying Dutchman much higher than I do the B&M Flyer. Okay, so the Flying Dutchman is awesome, but this is where the sad part comes in. There might not be any more by the end of this year. As many of you know, Firehawk went the way of the dodo back in 2018 to make room for Orion. Although this was definitely worth it, it was still sad to see it go. This left us with 2, Nighthawk and Batwing. Both of these stayed for quite a while until Cedar Fair and Six Flags merged. Recently, they've been purging tons of their rides that they don't think are worth keeping around anymore. This includes rides such as Green Lantern, King Ka, and of course, Nighthawk. They announced that Nighthawk would not reopen for the 2025 season back in December of 2024. And now, we just got word that Six Flags America will be closing at the end of 2025. Now, what does this mean for Batwing? Will the last Flying Dutchman die off, leaving an extinct model? Well, maybe not. Just because the park is leaving doesn't mean all the rides will. Some rides might be relocated to other parks. Some rides like Roar or Wild One will likely not be relocated, but Batwing very well could be. I could see it going to some smaller parks that may not necessarily bring in the big bucks, but that Six Flags still sees value in keeping around. Perhaps a park like Worlds of Fun or Valley Fair could benefit from this. We also have to consider the fact that Nighthawk is closing, which might make it more likely that Batwing stays. Since it's closing, the parts from Nighthawk could be used to repair Batwing and increase its longevity. All in all, there's no way of knowing what's going to happen. But if you enjoy the Flying Dutchman model as much as me, then I would suggest trying to make a trip out to Six Flags America by the end of this year if you can. We've only got a few more months before they close, so you need to act quick if you want to ensure that you can get another ride, because this model very well could go extinct by the end of this year. That's going to do it for this video. As always, if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe. I know I say this often, but it really does mean a lot to me when you care enough to like or share your thoughts below. I enjoy discussing these topics, so if you comment, there's a good chance I reply. And remember, as always, have a lovely day.